Okay, so let's begin with curves today. This is your presentation for the 17th date. I'm open slide 1817 for 2020. So the topics that we will be discussing today are curves and surfaces, splines and geometric and parametric constraints. And specifically, I'm going to discuss a special type of curve, which is Bezier curves. Okay, just give me a minute. Right? Okay, तो अब देखो 3D ऑब्जेक्ट्स के जो हमने बेसिक्स हैं, हमने बेसिक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस देख लिए। मुझे 3D में मॉडल करने हैं ऑब्जेक्ट की। पाइपलाइन मुझे पता है कैसे काम करती है, मुझे प्रोसेसेस पता है कौन से प्रोसेसेस होंगे, कौन से स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व होंगे, हर स्टेप के बाद मुझे कौन से सेट ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेट्स मिलेंगे। अब ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस भी है, क्लिपिंग के लिए भी प्रोसीजर आपका प्रोजेक्शन जो है, प्रोजेक्शन कैसे होगा, क्लिपिंग कैसे होगी। इंस्टेड ऑफ 2D बाउंड्री हमारे पास क्या है 3D में, वी हैव अ वॉल्यूम नाउ। ठीक है, सो दैट आपका ये जो 2D विंडो जो क्लिपिंग जो करता था, now it has been extended in 3D to a bounding box और बॉन्ड। आपका ये जो बाउंडिंग बॉक्स है इसकी शेप जो है ये डिपेंड करती है ऑन द टाइप ऑफ प्रोजेक्शन दैट वी यूजिंग। इफ इट्स पर्सपेक्टिव प्रोजेक्शन, तो ये पर्सपेक्टिव प्रोजेक्शन के हिसाब से the dimensions of this box will change, right? And if parallel projection, right? In that case, you'll get this bounding box as an infinite paralleloid. अगर finite viewing volume use करते हो तो you use a backplane or front plane and you specify their distances from the center of projection. So this is the center of projection, this point right here. Somewhere in the middle you have your screen in which you are obtaining the projection. Same goes for this perspective. You're going to have a back plane and a front plane, and somewhere here you're going to have your view plane or the projection plane. This is your COP where your projection lines are going to meet, and you have bounded this pyramidal infinite pyramid like structure to just a frustum now, this middle part. When you cut off the tip of a pyramid, that's known as a frustum. What remains is your frustum. You cut this top part from the pyramid. In this pyramidal structure, you have removed the top part, you have divided into two parts, and you have removed the top part. And what remains now is a structure which is known as the frustum. So in perspective projection, we're going to get a frustum as a viewing volume. Now let's come to representing more complex shapes in 3D. So how can we represent or design objects? How can we model objects using complex shapes? I mean, just these basic shapes or transformations, I don't think it will be enough to represent complex geometrical shapes such as, uh, I mentioned to you that we often use tiling as a concept. Tiling, or here you would find in the later slides or in some books you would find it as referred to as tessellation. Okay, so tessellation and tiling are same. What we do is we use several geometric primitives that we have defined earlier. like points, lines, okay, polygons. We're going to join these polygons together. Okay, these polygons are going to have different orientations. They're going to have different specifications. Suppose one of these polygons or a series of these polygons would have four vertices, and if I use another row of polygons with say some other, you can say, specification, like I've increased the number of vertices. Okay, I have changed the shape. These are not uniform in shape. So I can use a functional description and define different mathematical structures, geometrical structures, and how we're going to represent them by giving them mathematical functions. Of course, you can describe a plane using the equation of a plane. You can define any polygon. Any polygon would also be a plane. It's in corners having cutoffs, so you get different shapes. Right, so you can define all these abstract shapes using their mathematical descriptions. But what I'm more interested in right now is I want my picture or scene description to be as close to reality as possible. Okay, I want to represent my object in as realistic way as I can. So for that, what I can do is there are several other methods for object representations in 3D. So now we get introduced to the concept of curves and using polygon surface patches. Okay, so what you basically see is you have a polygon, okay, with a set of vertices that has been defined. This is a polygon patch. This is a polygon patch. So you have different polygons of different shapes and orientations. Then you have curves. You're familiar with curves. The most basic one being a cubic curve. No number of curves which you have studied in 10th and 12th. All the hyperbolic curves and the cubic curves and what. Okay, so we're going to use these curves. We're not going to make it very complex. What I'm going to do is I want my algorithms to work in as efficient manner as possible, and I want my complexity to be, reduce it as much as I can. So for that, we're going to use the family of cubic curves, right? And just imagine you have an object in front of you, or look around. While you're sitting, look around in the room. Take any object in front of you. You might be sitting in front of your television right now, and you better pay attention. Anyway, you might be having a phone in front of you. You might have a piece of cloth lying around. You might have a table in front of you. Okay, so you have different objects. One thing to notice about these objects, the real world objects I'm talking about. One thing to notice about these objects is that you can't simply just apply basic transformations. You will not find it hard that how can we just simply apply simple transformations like rotation, sharing, change the shape of the object to like an object which is right in front of you. Okay. So with a lot of detailing that goes into the creation and modeling of the object, is it possible to just design or model your objects using the basic shapes? Okay, for example, you need to design a church or a temple, say a Gothic church. So the number of details in that would be, it would be a very complex object to draw, to design. Same goes for, take a simple example of a temple. So you would have a cube or a cuboid, okay, and then you're going to place the dome, but this dome is not exactly like this. So you'll have something like this, and then you're going to have say another dome on top of it, and then you're going to have the flag, and to put that to show that flag also using you have to show that flag using a polygon, which is going to um, mimic the properties of an actual piece of cloth. So, of course, we can depict these real life like characteristics using shading techniques and color techniques. That is for the later part of lectures for syllabus. But right now we are more interested in how can we shape these objects into um, these representations so that they actually resemble something. By looking at that object, I can say, okay, that's a temple. Okay, that is a church. Okay, this does not look like a church at all. This does not look like a temple at all right now. But a lot more, if you pay attention to the designing, uh, you get better at it. So, what are the tools to design such objects? So, we're going to study about tools. Please mute your audio. You don't have any doubt. And if you want to discuss something, you can unmute yourself. Okay. Now, coming to geometric representation, just like in 2D, we have a number of output primitives in 3D as well. Some of those primitives we have already discussed, like polygons. We have gone through polygons and quadratic surfaces, spheres, if you remember, blobby objects from that PPT from the slides. So we've already gone through some of 3D primitives, object primitives. So you can include these polylines, curves, curved surface patches to that list. Okay, so this is just an extension of that list. So now we're going to model an object in 3D, and there are two approaches basically. Okay, so modeling may you have an additive, denoted by a plus sign, and a subtractive approach, denoted by a minus sign. Okay, so plus sign denotes you're adding something, as the name indicates. Additive approach, additive. Subtractive, you're taking something away from that object. So either you could keep on adding different objects to your primary object to get the final shape of your object, final shape, or you can say final representation, final model of your object. Like I added, this sphere, or I can compress this sphere by applying shearing. Okay, I applied some force on it, say, vertically, and that is basically shearing. That is what shearing is, right? So I compress this dome shape to give this illusion, to give the illusion of it to be a dome. Okay, so I have a cuboid. I added this sphere, sort of a compressed sphere. Okay, a void. What is that shape? Then you keep on adding certain other elements too. Okay, so you're going to add objects. Suppose if you want to add a tree, you're going to add a cylinder, then you're going to make leaves, so you're going to add more and more circles or spheres. Okay, so that is going to keeping fill it with some colors like green, brown to show that they are trees. Okay, so this approach is known as additive approach. What you are doing is you're assembling objects to create something. Okay, constructive way. Constructive approach where you are actually adding, you are going to add more and more layers, you're going to add more and more objects to your already existing. So kind of way like you're using Lego. Okay, take the example of a Lego, you're going to build something. Okay, you're going to take objects, you're going to build a structure, you're going to build a model, you're going to build a design, or you're going to build your object. So that is the constructive approach, where you're additive. Okay, this is your additive approach. Second is your subtractive approach. Subtractive approach, you can take the example of a sculptor. What a sculptor does is, suppose I have to design a bust structure of some historical figure to be kept, which is to be kept in a museum. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll order a piece of marble stone first, right? And from that stone, what a sculptor, how does a sculptor work, right? The carpenters, the sculptors, how do they work? What they do is they start with a carpenter would start with a log of wood, right? And then keep on carving it, removing pieces from it until it takes the shape of the object that um, was to be designed, right? For example, if the carpenter is making a table, so in order to design the legs of the table, what he will do is carve out rods from this log of wood, right? So you're taking basically you're taking away some pieces from the subject. Okay, you're removing objects in a way. If I talk about modeling in terms of this 3D modeling. So you have an object, you're going to take some pieces away from this original object. So you're subtracting. Okay, hence I referred it to as, I refer to additive approach as constructive approach, and this is very destructive approach. So you don't mention that in your answers. This is just for you to remember and understand it better. Okay, so this is an additive and this is a subtractive. Subtractive would be just like how a sculptor would sculpt a statue or a figure. Okay, so he's going to take his tools, hammers, and whatnot, and he's going to carve out a bust from this stone, right? And you would get a statue of some figure or something like that. So that would be the destructive approach, or I can say maybe the subtractive approach. So two approaches to modeling of an object in 3D. Either you go on assembling finding object using small objects or pieces of objects. You glue them together, you put them together, you assemble them. That would be a better approach. Or you begin with an object and you start taking away three pieces from it. That would be a subtractive approach. Next, you have tessellation as a concept that will be often repeated, and you will see, and the other concept is your cubic polynomials, which we will discuss in a few minutes. Okay, so spline representations and curves we're going to discuss today. So get confused by these definitions. We have simple geometric forms. Let's start with these very simply points and lines. In geometric 3D space, the simplest or the most basic point would be, simplest structure would be a point, right? So the basic unit you can say of a 3D space of a 3D coordinate system is your point. Now add a bunch of points together, join them so that now they have a common characteristic, which is now they all can be defined by an equation, which is the equation of a line. They have formed a line. So join a number of continuous points in space, so you get a line. So after points, you get line segments. Okay, the second basic geometric form is your, after points is your line segments. Once you have your lines, what you can do is you can join n number of lines together, any number of lines together. But now, look, I'm not going to join the lines which are, of the having the same slope, basically. Now you see these slopes are going to be different. These lines could be oriented in your 3D space at different angles from the x, y, and z coordinate axes. So once you join these lines together, this structure now is known as a polyline. Okay, and these endpoints, these endpoints, these are known as these vertices. Now I am going to call them as nodes. For polylines, I'm going to call them as nodes. So this point one would be the starting point is your initial point. Last point is your terminal point. So starting point I have denoted in P as P1. Next turning point will be my P2. From where the next line starts and the first line ends, that point will be P2. And same goes for all the following joints. So I have these joints here and a number of line segments. So for example, the figure that I've drawn in front of you has 1, 2, 3, 4 line segments, and together when I have joined these 4 line segments, this is now going to be called as a polyline. If your polyline has the same starting vertex and ending vertex, suppose I join this polyline with some other vertex, other node, and I have again connected a line segment from this particular node to the starting node. Now you see these set of line segments are now representing a polygon. So you can say a set of closed polylines is a polygon. When you join n number of line segments together in a way that the first and the last terminal coincide, that is, they are same. So you would get a polygon in that case. So a set of closed polylines gives you a polygon. second diagram you can see the first one represents your initial terminal and the intermediate nodes called polylines. And if you have a closed polyline structure, then that is known as a polygon. Then you have something known as wireframe models. Now, wireframe models are extremely important, and you see them in a number of representations, especially in somebody working on CAD modeling. You would have seen these wireframe structures there. These are very helpful and used in critical applications. See, why we are studying the geometric representations for 3D object, what is the use? You would see these representations are actually very important in applications. Whichever field you choose to work in later on, after you complete your course or you graduate from this college, you're going to have graphics there. So it's impossible to find a field where graphics is not used. So if even people who are working on machine learning or they have some projects in computer vision. You must have done the submitted your project proposals now for computer vision and image processing. So it's important to know the basics of how these things work. You would have to know the basics of pixels. If you're going to process images, you need to know how pixels work, how the values are transformed, what are the RGB values, and how you can represent matrix form. You would see the applications of or the basic knowledge of graphics is useful in most of the applications or most of the fields, right? If you want to be a UI designer, again you need to understand how these things work. Or if you go for game designing, like especially people in game designing, or if you're involved in designing virtual simulators and all. If you're working on blenders, you might find these useful and you might be able to relate to these concepts more. The critical applications where I mentioned were while designing, you can see this figure of it could be a fighter jet in front of you. So, in CAD modeling and critical applications like designing a rocket. Why their representation? Everything starts with the representation first, right? You need modeling. Why we are starting about modeling? Because the first or the basic step you could say while designing any product, whether it be a software or a hardware product, is to start by the conceptual design of it first. Once you have your conceptual design, you move on to for the documentations and all these things. Even while designing a software, you must have studied in software engineering. You need to design the data flow diagrams and all, right? So you need to know the flow of things, how things are going to work, and if you have a visual tool to how things are going to look like here. Okay, so that really helps. All your diagrams, or why you just ask yourself this question: why were you asked to design all those data flow diagrams and all those things? And you would be again required to submit all these things while you submit your project, right? So visualization is a tool which is has helped, and not just has helped, it helps for better understanding of anything. Right. Something which is written in text. If I give you all the PPTs with just text and text, I put 20 lines in one just one slide. I fill the slide with 20 lines of just text or text. I just copy and paste from the book and just write the whole chapter in your PPTs. Would you be able to understand them? And what if there were no diagrams for you to understand? I just explaining what a wireframe model is, and you just keep on imagining whatever image or picture you have of that object in your mind, that would be how you would relate to that object in future, right? So visual representation is a very powerful tool, and I don't think you have to convince somebody of the power that these tools hold. And where I mentioned several applications like designing rockets and fighter jets and designing large scale vehicles, say you're designing a ship, right? You can't just go, and play around with objects. These things require material to build. Even your software requires, resources. You people will be the resources in majority of you in future, and you would be putting in your time and efforts in designing and building 20,000. You'll be writing 20,000 lines of codes every day. Right? Maybe right now you might find it new, but you would be doing at a regular basis later on in life. So when you build such a code, you would be working on large projects for MNCs, right? When you build such products on a large scale, scalability plays a very important role here. You can't just go in and you can't just have a casual approach to designing कि देखते हैं क्या बनता है उसके बाद डिसाइड करेंगे प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च करना है या नहीं करना है शिप में भी आप बना रहे हो लेट्स सी जितना मटेरियल है देखते हैं बनाते हैं बनता है नहीं बनता है यू कैन डू दैट राइट सपोज यू डिजाइनिंग रॉकेट सॉफ्टवेयर मतलब रॉकेट का है आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द सॉफ्टवेयर पार्ट का तो अभी आई नहीं हूँ अभी रॉकेट आप डिजाइन कर रहे हो थोड़ी सी भी अगर उसके एरोडायनामिक स्ट्रक्चर में अगर आपने थोड़ी सी भी मिस्टेक माइन्यूट इवन माइन्यूट सी मिस्टेक ट्रस्ट में एटमॉस्फेयर की अपर लेयर तक पहुंचा नहीं और वो फटेगा एब्सोल्युटली और जो डिजाइनर्स होंगे एंड यू नो दीस थिंग्स कॉस्ट मिलियंस मिलियंस you can't just play around and be casual while designing that is why they require um, articulate मतलब efforts जो है in terms of resources and your time सब कुछ जो है have to be very careful with all these things. And if I talk about the software for that same rocket design, right? अगर आपने उसको टेस्ट भी करोगे तो सिमुलेशन में अगेन ग्राफिक्स सिमुलेट करोगे टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट्स अगर आपने प्रॉपरली कंडीशंस नहीं डिफाइन की है आपकी सिमुलेशन जो है आपने उसमें गड़बड़ की है एक्चुअल जो है ऑफ कोर्स थोड़ा सा प्रैक्टिकल फैक्टर्स जो रहते हैं वो डिफर करेंगे बट अगर आपने सिमुलेशन डिजाइन में सिमुलेशन में आपका रन कर लिया बट एक्चुअल जो है आपने पैरामीटर्स अलग लिए थे एक्चुअल से तो अगेन सेम रिजल्ट ठीक है इसमें इतना प्रिसीजन रिक्वायर्ड होता है अगर आपने 15 डेसिमल प्लेसेस तक आपने कैलकुलेशंस की हैं और 14th प्लेस पे अगर आपने कहीं मिस्टेक कर दी डेसिमल के बाद that could also result in blowing up of your rocket that is that's how critical these applications are and you can't just involve anybody and everybody to work on these also why they require the best of the minds to design these things. So anyway, if you do reach somewhere here or if you do get to work on projects like these, good for you because that would be very exciting and you really have contributed something. But coming back to our models right here, so imagine this to be imagine that this is a fighter jet in front of you. Okay, so you have something now which is another wireframe model. Now, these wireframe models are are built from a number of lines which are joined together. Just imagine you have you seen the sieve or that mesh in your kitchens that you use? छन्नी देखिए आपने तो उसमें देखो कैसे स्ट्रक्चर होता है मेटल की जो वायर्स हैं एक mesh बना रहे हैं ठीक है have a number of lines usually half dome shaped semicircle ठीक है you get something like this the mesh structure होता है यहाँ पे and the metal wires are यहाँ पे देखो bend करेंगी right तो पूरे के पूरे surface पे ये आपकी ऐसे distributed होती है lines जो है connected है ठीक है so something similar to that you have a number of lines which are depicting the outer structure outer and inner you can say एक बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है जैसे आपकी बॉडी का स्ट्रक्चर कैसे डिपिक्ट कर रहे हो आपने बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर बनाया स्केलेटन से ठीक है तो लिप्स दिखाएं ठीक है एंड ऑल द बोन्स व्हिच आर देयर तो दिस स्ट्रक्चर उसके ऊपर आप लेयरिंग करते जाओगे फ्लैश की फिर स्किन की ठीक है अगर आप ह्यूमन बॉडी के डिजाइन की बात करें जस्ट लाइक दैट यू हैव द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर बिल्डिंग का भी जैसे बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर बनाते हैं तो सबसे पहले आप फाउंडेशन ले करने के बाद यू बिल्ड द फ्लोर्स राइट एंड पिलर्स और वो सब खड़े करोगे उसके बाद यू स्टार्ट डिजाइनिंग द हाउस राइट ऐसे तो नहीं पहले घर बना दिया उसके बाद आप ठीक है भाई, आगे हम करते रहेंगे फ्लोर, या कहीं बीच में आपके फ्लोर लटक रहे हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता। नीड टू डिजाइन योर बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर फर्स्ट, उसके बाद आप लेयरिंग स्टार्ट करके यू प्लास्टर दोस, यू insert the walls, you will build walls and then you plaster them and then you paint them and then you will decorate your house, right? So the approach is you going to start with the basic structure first, and these basic structures are represented using a wireframe. फ्रेम है एक, नाम से पता चल रहा है, and wires you have a these lines which are connected, line segments हैं. These line segments could be curved or straight, और जो end points हैं आपके, या तो वो lines होंगी, ठीक है, या curves होंगे. तो lines और curves को यूज करके जो एक स्ट्रक्चर बना है, this is known as a wireframe model. Very similar to the polygon mesh that we had seen. If you remember at the end of the quadratic surfaces slide, जहाँ पे train और blocks थे, if you remember जहाँ पे tiling का concept आपको दिखाया, एक के बाद एक polygons join किए थे. तो ये जो lines है, आप just imagine that you don't have the polygons, but these are just lines which are representing the external structure. I won't say internal or external. Let's just say अभी के लिए the structure of an object is being described in one of these models. You can also call them polygon net or polygon mesh, right? These lines. Also notice the difference in these two models. Although they are describing or you can say depicting the same object, but the difference is that you see the internal lines are also shown here. So you can see the internal structure also, right? And in the second diagram, there is a term which is known as hidden lines. So the lines have been, few of the lines have been hidden from the user, from your point of view, or you can, you know, और अगर आप रूम में बैठो suppose, and आपको दूसरे रूम का नहीं देख सकता ना वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, आपको ये एक्स-रे विजन तो है नहीं हमारे पास, that we can see each and every object in all the other rooms as well. So you see a certain part of your house is hidden from you as well. Wherever you are sitting, you are not able to view complete house, right? You can't get the complete house. जितना आपकी विजन में है, जितना आपका सुपर विजन है, जो जो ऑब्जेक्ट्स आपके आसपास होंगे, सराउंडिंग आपका फील्ड के में है, लाई करेंगे, वही ऑब्जेक्ट्स आपको दिखेंगे, उसके अलावा नहीं. So that is a concept which we also use while modeling or describing any scene in graphics. So we try to hide not just structures, because अभी तक हम क्या बात कर रहे थे, हम structures draw करेंगे. But what if we don't want to show, suppose if this was your cube, what if I don't want to show the back face of this cube? Because that is not how realistic objects, real objects look like, right? In order to depict a real object, I need to give it some properties which will give the illusion of it being looking, at least looking like a real life object. So you can't see through your TV screens, or can you? So the back face or the back panel of the TV screens is hidden, right? And the portion of the wall as well, which is at the back of your television screens. So what I can do is I can hide some lines from this structure, which would not be visible to the user from the point, from the reference point. Say I'm standing here, and this is the view that I'm getting. If I stand and take this look at the same object, I'm going to get a different view, right? This wing might appear larger comparatively, and it would I'd see it getting uh, bigger, or maybe if I stand close to it, it would appear bigger. If I stand far away from it, it would appear much smaller in size. And if I stand just in front of it, somewhere here, I would get a more elongated view of the same structure. So the views also depend on the view of the object, also depends on the position. That we know very well. And hidden line surfaces, lines, hiding lines in surfaces is another concept that we're going to discuss. There are algorithms for that. How can we hide these back surfaces, these lines which are not going to, be visible to the user? So visible line and visible surface. How can we detect those visible and invisible lines and surfaces? How to differentiate between those two? So that is in your unit 5, and next week cover all these. So moving on. Finally, we have a curved surfaces. I'll quickly go through the concepts of curves and Bezier curves because it's short time. And please go through these slides, and if you have any feedback, because these are very important. These curves और these lines, especially ये दो terms आपको हर साल पेपर में लिखेंगे. वो भी पूछ सकते हैं, तो एक भी पूछ सकते हैं, और क्वेश्चन would get you will be asked to define what Bezier or B-spline curves are, or if you want to note it down. यही questions पूछे जाएंगे. The properties और the parametric constraints जो है, जो continuity equations हैं, continuity की जो conditions हैं, parametric और geometric end में given है, these geometric continuity conditions and parametric conditions. ठीक है? These are also asked, and or you could also get a question on Bezier curve that you have to and get these kinds of questions. So practical additive modeling we have already discussed. Come to spline representations. Spline representations के लिए अगर आपको visualize करना है, ये कौन से curves हैं, ये क्या surfaces है, क्या बात चल रही है. Imagine 2 people are there, okay? 2 people आपके घर में, आपको और आपने सपोज अपने सिबलिंग को, आप और आपके सिबलिंग क्या कर रहे हैं, यू हैव यू बोथ होल्डिंग अ बेडशीट. ठीक है, दोनों के दोनों ने आपस में चादर पकड़ी है, एंड यू आस्क समबडी एल्स टू, और यू कैन आल्सो डू दिस, you place some weights on this bedsheet, this sheet, okay? या तो आप स्टोन उसमें रखो, या whatever object you can find, फोन रखा आपने या रिमोट रख दो वहाँ पे, जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट आपको आसपास मिल सकता है. You see the shape of this. If you don't hold it very tightly, let it loose, and you would see that this bed sheet would change its shape based on, now gravity. Let gravity do its work. We will let this bed sheet loose, and you see based on the weight of that object, जितना heavy object था उसके हिसाब से you see there will be a bend in that sheet or a piece of cloth that you're holding, right? जहाँ जहाँ मान लो आपने चादर दो लोगों ने पकड़ रखी है, बीच में आप पत्थर रखते जाओ, स्टोन्स रखते जाओ, जहाँ जहाँ जिस जिस पोजीशन पे आपने स्टोन्स रखे, वहाँ देखो आपकी चादर जो है वो उसमें एक मतलब कान से एक गड्ढा सा हो जाएगा, बट उसे वहां से वो चादर नीचे की तरफ हो जाएगी थोड़ी. एग्जैक्टली अगर आप वो चादर को एक प्लेन से कंपेयर करो, एक प्लेन शीट की बजाय आप यू विल हैव बेंड्स इन दैट सेम बेडशीट, राइट? सिमिलर कॉन्सेप्ट है कर्व्स का. अब ये जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट शेप्स हैं, अगर मुझे ये डिफाइन करनी है अपने सिस्टम में, तो मैं इन्हें कैसे मॉडल कर सकती हूँ? आई यूज समथिंग व्हिच इज नोन एज स्प्लाइन सरफेस. स्प्लाइन रिप्रेजेंटेशंस जो है मेरी अपनी. स्प्लाइंस क्या होते हैं? स्प्लाइन सरफेस फ्लेक्सिबल स्ट्रिप है. नाउ यू गेट द टर्म बाय फ्लेक्सिबल. Flexible इसीलिए because they can easily, or you can rather easily control or alter their shapes. Flexible strips हैं, you can easily control their shapes. ठीक है, weights assign करोगे और ये जो weights हैं ये इसकी shape alter करने में आपको help करेंगे. हर अलग अलग स्पेसिफिकेशंस हैं, इसकी अलग अलग टाइप की रिप्रेजेंटेशंस हैं. हर रिप्रेजेंटेशन की अपनी इक्वेशन होगी, हर इक्वेशन की. अच्छा, अभी टेसलेशन बोला था कि ये काम आएगा. टेसलेशन अब देखो कहाँ कहाँ काम आता है आपके. पॉलीगन्स को आप ग्लू कर रहे थे, लेगो जैसे मैंने बोला, लेगो को ज्वाइन कर करके आप बिल्ड कर लो कोई भी स्ट्रक्चर. ऐसे ही पॉलीगन्स को ज्वाइन करते जाओ तो यू वुड गेट अ strip, something like that. What if I want it to be a curved strip? What I'm going to do is I'm going to join these curves together, right? अब इनका टेसलेशन करूंगी मैं, इनकी टाइलिंग करूंगी. टाइलिंग मतलब एक के बाद एक इनको, जस्ट इमेजिन यू आर ग्लूइंग देम टुगेदर. ठीक है, और ग्लू करने से ये मतलब है कि अब ये देखो जिस पॉइंट से ये जॉइन होंगे, ये जो कंडीशंस है यू नीड टू इंश्योर कि फर्स्ट वाले ये जो स्ट्रक्चर था और सेकंड स्ट्रक्चर है, फर्स्ट स्ट्रक्चर का एंड पॉइंट्स जो है और सेकंड स्ट्रक्चर के स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट्स जो है वो कोइंसाइड करने चाहिए. फिर से फर्स्ट स्ट्रक्चर का एंड पॉइंट और सेकंड स्ट्रक्चर का बिगिनिंग का स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, जब तक ये कोइंसाइड नहीं करेंगे तब तक आप कैसे इसे जॉइंट मान सकते हो। तो इसे चेक करने के लिए हमारे पास बाउंड्री कंडीशन है, जहाँ पे हम डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशंस का यूज करेंगे, स्लोप वगैरह डिटरमाइन करेंगे। फर्स्ट ऑर्डर सेकंड ऑर्डर आपके पास देखो कंटिन्यूटी इक्वेशंस, कंटिन्यूटी कंडीशंस दी गई है, तो वो यही चेक कर रही है कि ये दो पॉइंट्स कोइंसाइड कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं। ठीक है। नेक्स्ट टू अप्रोचेस कर्व्स आपकी ड्राइंग करने के लिए। Come to this, I'll show you another PPT. Wait, I'll just take 5 to 10 minutes more. Okay, hardly. I see there are two concepts. First is for curve drawing. I'm talking about दो approaches. Okay. So what I'm going to do is now instead of using typical curves जो है मेरे पास cubic hyperbolic वगैरह, I know that I need to define a much more complex object. ठीक है, अब मुझे बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑब्जेक्ट बनाने की जरूरत है, तो मेरे नॉर्मल एक कर्व से तो नहीं होने वाला है। ठीक है। और अगर मैं स्प्लाइन रिप्रेजेंटेशन वाली बात करूँ, तो अगर आपने एक कर्व बना भी दिया तो सीधा अगर एक मेरे पास बड़ा कर्व हुआ, तो आप इसमें कितने ही चेंजेस कर लोगे, इसकी शेप में ऑल्टर कैसे कर लोगे, राइट। तो व्हाट आई डू इज आई कैन जॉइन several curves, pieces of curves together to form the shape of the object that I'm looking for, that I'm designing. So I'm going to join a number of curves together. ठीक है। जो पीस वाइज कर्व्स, पीस वाइज पॉलिनोमियल्स आपने पीपीटी में टर्म देखा होगा। पीस वाइज मतलब आपका जो फाइनल कर्व है वो कई सारे कर्व्स के पीसेस को ज्वाइन करके बना है। इमेजिन आपके पास कर्व्स हैं, कई सारे कर्व्स को आपस में आपने ग्लू से जोड़ दिया है। फाइनल कर्व दैट यू गेट इज योर पीस वाइज कर्व और उसके अपने इक्वेशन कैसे करेंगे दैट वी विल डिस्कस। दो अप्रोचेस है इसके लिए। अब सी, imagine you are holding a rubber band in your hand. ठीक है। You put two fingers, you put your rubber band across this around your two fingers here. So this rubber band would take and you stretch your fingers. So you see that this rubber band has taken the shape uh, that it will take the shape accordingly of according to how you stretch your fingers. So if I put another finger right here, so now this somewhat cylindrical, somewhat circular shape will now get transformed to what triangular shape. Okay, you have wrapped this around your fingers, this rubber band. Okay, you wrap this around more of your fingers. So you use one hand. Now you see, अब जो ये शेप आएगी आपके पास कुछ ऐसी बन के आएगी। तो आप देखो जितने जितने आप पॉइंट्स बढ़ाते जा रहे हो स्लोवर बैंड को, जितना आप स्ट्रेच करते जा रहे हो, जितने जितने पॉइंट्स बढ़ाते जा रहे हो, शेप देखो ऑल्टर हो रही है। दिस वाज जस्ट द इनिशियल शेप। ठीक है, इनिशियली सर्कल था, सपोज सर्कल से जब मैंने दो फिंगर से स्ट्रेच किया आई गॉट दिस elongated circle, elongated circular shape। उसके बाद जब मैंने थ्री फिंगर से मैंने इसको यूज करके स्ट्रेच किया, अब तीन, ध्यान से सुनो द टर्म्स दैट आई एम यूजिंग, कंट्रोलिंग पॉइंट्स। तीन कंट्रोलिंग पॉइंट्स है मेरे पास, तो अब ये थोड़ी सी ट्राइंगुलर सी शेप ले ली मेरे इस सेम ऑब्जेक्ट में। ठीक है, व्हेन आई यूज्ड ऑल माय फिंगर्स एंड माय थंब एज वेल, उसके बाद आई गॉट अ पॉलीगन which is which would be more like if you hold it or if you stretch it hard enough, तो एक मतलब एक टाइट ही आपको लाइनिंग्स मिलेंगी, इतना कर्व नहीं मिलेगा। ठीक है, जितना मतलब ड्रॉ किया है, तो यू वुड गेट अ पेंटागन इन दैट केस, राइट। So you see the number of vertices, as you are increasing these vertices, you're getting different shapes, right? But this is not what I want to emphasize here. The approach to how I am changing the shape of this particular rubber band is what I want you to focus on. ठीक है? तो 5 वर्टिसेस के होने से शेप चेंज हुई, 3 वर्टिसेस के होने से अलग शेप मिली, 2 वर्टिसेस के होने से अलग शेप थी, और आप अपने किसी फ्रेंड को इंक्लूड कर लोगे तो यू गेट अ डिफरेंट शेप। ठीक है? तो 2 अप्रोचेस हैं अब आपके पास। फर्स्ट इज समथिंग नोन एज अप्रोक्सीमेशन एंड सेकंड इज योर इंटरपोलेशन। अगर मैथ्स में आपको इंटरपोलेशन और अप्रोक्सीमेशन याद है तो। अप्रोक्सीमेशन नाम से पता लग रहा है अप्रोक्सीमेट कर रहे हैं, मतलब यू हैव अ सर्टेन, अब यहाँ देखो ये वर्टिसेस थे, इन वर्टिसेस से आपका रबर बैंड पास हो रहा था। ठीक है, ये जो मैंने यहाँ डिस्क्राइब किया। अगर आपके पास दिस इज योर वर्टिसेस एंड इफ योर कर्व joins all these vertices, मतलब अगर necessarily हर पॉइंट से, हर वर्टेक्स से आपका जो ये कर्व है पास हो रहा है, in that case it will be your interpolation curve। ठीक है? इंटरपोलेशन तब होगा जो आपका ज्योमेट्रिक जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है या कर्व इस केस में, अगर आपका ज्योमेट्रिक कर्व जो है, ये कर्व हर पॉइंट जो आपने लिया है कंट्रोल पॉइंट, हर कंट्रोल पॉइंट से पास होगा तो उसको हम बोलेंगे इंटरपोलेशन। अगर सिर्फ और सिर्फ आपके दिस इज योर स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट एंड दिस इज योर एंडिंग पॉइंट, स्टार्टिंग और एंडिंग पॉइंट से तो पास होना ही होना है आपको। तो यहाँ से आप स्टार्ट करोगे ड्रॉ करना, यहाँ से आप एंड करोगे। बट अगर बीच में कहीं आपके जो पॉइंट्स हैं वो रह जाते हैं, ठीक है, या एक भी ऐसा कंट्रोल पॉइंट है जहां से या जिससे आपका कर्व पास नहीं हुआ है, तो उस केस में यू विल हैव एन अप्रोक्सीमेशन कर्व। अप्रोक्सीमेशन पॉइंट्स के पास से चला जाता है, नॉट नेसेसरी हर एक पॉइंट से पास हो। Interpolation, it is necessary that it passes through all the points, all the controlling points। Controlling points, ये points वो points है control points जो इस shape को आपके determine कर रहे हैं कि कौन सी shape draw होगी। जैसे पेंटागन के केस में या इस वाले केस में मेरे पास 5 कंट्रोलिंग पॉइंट्स थे जो मेरी फिंगर्स थे, तो ये डिटरमिन कर रही थी इस रबर बैंड, ये रबर बैंड क्या शेप लेगा। इस केस में मेरे पास 3 कंट्रोलिंग पॉइंट्स थे, इस केस में मेरे पास 2 कंट्रोलिंग पॉइंट्स थे, और इन सभी केसेस में से मेरा जो रबर बैंड था मेरी फिंगर से कनेक्टेड था, मतलब हर वर्टेक्स से पास हो रहा था। तो ये इंटरपोलेशन के केसेस हैं सारे के सारे। अगर किसी एक भी फिंगर से पास नहीं होता तो in that case it would have been approximation of the curve। All right, so we'll continue with this discussion in the next lecture। Just stay online for a few minutes, just 1 minute। Do you have any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then thank you।